Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Subspace Developer Sync. Today, we're going to go around the table and get updates from everybody on what we have been working on. We do have a new team member joining today. We have Natasha De La Rosa, who just joined our team as our new lead front-end engineer. So she'll be given a quick introduction to herself and a quick update on her onboarding as well. All right, so to start off with, we'll start with the core protocol. Nazar, do you mind going first?
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Nazar. We already met Natasha. I'm CTO and co-founder at Subspace, working on the core protocol mostly and a little bit on the design of the protocol. As to updates from last week, there haven't been many public changes to the protocol. We were mostly monitoring what is happening on our stress test that will go into incentivized phase tomorrow. And I was working on the changes to the consensus. There is a special branch where I'm working on those changes. First of all, upgraded different cryptography functions to new ones, and also was working on the commitment scheme using KZG. There was quite a bit back and forth with Daria about how it should work, what the API would look like. So I think we've settled finally on what it should be. And I'm working right now on the upgrading of the archiving process to use all of that new commitment, so we can change different parameters in the network according to the specification. And otherwise, on the protocol side, I think only work on the design of DSN is what we've been working on. Ivan has transitioned mostly to the application side of things.
Great. Thank you, Nazar. Any questions from the group? Okay, Shamil, you're up next.
Sure. My name is Shamil. I work with distributed storage network using the Rust language. Last week, I worked on the DSN v2 plan for our consensus v2. I combined multiple different features of the future network design, and we had several meetings with Jeremiah and Nazar. Currently, I narrowed down a list of the best ideas we brainstormed and created a DSN v2 design draft. The work is in progress. I hope this week we'll finalize our initial design and I start implementing it. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Shamil. And I set up a one-on-one with us, new one-on-one time right after this. So we'll have time to go through those questions. And of course, Nazar, you're welcome to join that as well if you'd like to. Okay. All right. Ivan, we're going to let you give your update during the apps part. So I'm just going to skip you for now.
Well, Ivan is not here, so that's fine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot Ivan's not here. Okay. I'll let Arthur give updates for Ivan's stuff then. Okay. On the domains and execution layer side, I don't have many updates from my part. I have been just trying to work on reviewing a lot of the material that Ved and Lu Cheng have been putting together. We do have like 5 different design discussion meetings on the calendar this week to try to finalize different aspects of the protocol. So our goal is really going to be to finalize the planning and start on the implementation of that. And actually, Lu Cheng's already able to start on some of the implementation, so I'll let him cover that in his update. Any questions for me about that? All right. Lu Cheng, you're up next.
Okay, sure. And Natasha, I'm Liu Cheng. I'm from China. I recently have been primarily working on the new domains. Last week, I revisited an old feature request issue in Substrate, about supporting the custom Genesis block. Once it's resolved, we can remove our block wrapper type workaround to inject a digest into the Genesis block. I have opened up a Substrate PR. It's now waiting for the review from Pretty Folks. On the domain side, I updated the fork handling document after our last discussion with Ved and Jeremiah. I also drafted a pretty early version of the implementation plan, and I have had a discussion with Jeremiah and figure out the first step, I think. Yeah. The main focus for this week will be is to nail down the implementation plan as soon as possible, and I can actually start working on it. Yeah. That's my update.
Thanks, Licheng. Any questions? Okay, and just to provide a little bit more background on that, so from the implementation point of view, we've identified that there are several changes or upgrades we can make to the existing framework of decoupled execution that we have. Some refactoring, you could say, which are like low-hanging fruit that we can probably get done in about a week, which Licheng's going to start working on while we finalize some of the planning around domains. So this is just some preliminary work, but we'll be able to do it incrementally and get it deployed and tested by early next week. All right, Ved, you're up next.
Hey, Natasha. This is Ved. I'm working with Jeremiah and Licheng on the domains these days. I'm also working on the runtime side of the Subspace as well. Last week was on the back end, it's mostly just the infrastructure, just monitoring the infrastructure as is. Apart from that, I had some good calls with Jeremiah regarding formal messaging formal spec. That is, the draft of it is done. I think Jeremiah is already reviewing it. Once that is done, the next steps would be thinking about the implementations as well. I'm also currently working on writing a small tech spec for how a relayer would look like, which is another component for messaging itself that mostly exists off-chain rather than on-chain. That is most likely just going to be a technical spec to see how exactly things will fit in. Yeah, that's pretty much my week this week.
Okay, thank you, Ved. And I am planning to have the messaging spec reviewed by the time we speak on Wednesday. I just sent out a couple more meeting invites for the week, so let me know if there's any issues with any of those, and we can move them around.
Yeah, cool. Works. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Ved? All right. Okay, moving on to product. Arthur, you want to kick us off?
Yep. Hi, everybody, and hi, Natasha. Again, I'm Arthur, Director of Product Engineering here, so I'll be talking to you later today. So some updates, starting with Subwallet. I'll post a link here, but they have officially released their single chain mode. You should go take a look on how that works. But it works just for Subspace, so check it out. Later today, we are talking with Trail of Bits to go over the security audit that has occurred over the past week or so. So more updates on that end. And as you all know, we have a new senior front-end engineer here on the team called Natasha. So glad to have you here with us. Thanks so much for joining. And then for Ivan's updates, he's out with COVID, as mentioned earlier on, but he's been working on telemetry changes, so a variety of changes to reduce the data load coming in and out. Currently, right now, he's working on producing a benchmark to make sure that we can handle the upcoming nodes. So more to be followed once I sync up with him later on today. And that's it on my end.
All right, thanks, Arthur. Any questions from the group? Okay, Serge, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Natasha. I'm Serge, full stack engineer, full stack front-end engineer. Yeah, so last week I was busy with telemetry UI, and my PR to the parity repository was merged, and we could use those changes to show space pledged in the header. And just before the meeting, I also submitted PR to show unique address count. We're using currently Subscan API for that, and they have a limit for requests, so we have to keep an eye on that because I expect we will reach the limit pretty fast. And apart from that, we had update for map. We still need to make some adjustments because the number of nodes is growing and those dots are getting bigger. So I created an issue for that, and if there is nothing more critical this week, I can address that. And yeah, as Arthur mentioned, Ivan was doing some stuff on the backend, some optimizations, and I was doing some adjustments on the front end. So things are not broken if there is some missing data. And yeah, some few other minor PRs related to telemetry, like to fix deployment, to show some nodes, yeah, stuff like that.
Great, thanks a lot, Serge. This is really, really important stuff that you're working on. It's very, very critical for Gemini 2 because of the reward structure that we have this time around. So I have a couple follow-up questions. I just want to confirm some things. For the space pledge, Nazar, did you get a chance to review that code to make sure that that was implemented properly?
Honestly, I haven't seen that pull request, but I have no reason to believe it's not correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't add. I don't add Nazar usually to front-end PRs. Yeah, but I used the code that we used before, so it's nothing. Nothing has changed there.
Okay. Nazar, would you mind just taking a look at that, Serge? If you can share the PR with Nazar, it's just this is the only way that
Sure.
that we have to see this, and it's very critical for milestones for the incentivized testnet. So I'd just like to get a second set of eyes on it. Okay. For the unique reward addresses, so this is also the other super important part, the third piece of the puzzle, which we need to resolve, since it looks like it's going to be a while, honestly, probably maybe not even before incentivized testnet is over for Subscan to deploy that kind of feature on the Block Explorer. So we're going to have to implement this internally for now. So for those unique reward addresses, Serge, is that just like count of unique reward addresses, or are those unique reward addresses which meet the minimum threshold of 0.5 TSSC to get to the different stages?
Yeah, it's non-zero balances, and currently we have only 18, which have locked balances because they are like provided in the config when we start the network. Yeah, and in the future it will show all the new balances which have some tokens.
But it's not restricted to 0.5, it's just anything.
Yeah, anything.
Okay, so we're going to need to update that, and we can go into this in more detail tomorrow, but it is pretty urgent. But we're going to need it to reflect kind of the rules of Gemini 2. So that means that if it's a locked balance, like it's the 18 that are for vesting right now for the team, then those should be excluded from that count. Only the people that have been issued rewards for actually farming or voting should be in this count, and we only want to show the rewards that have hit 0.5 TSSC. They have to actually get 5 rewards to one address before they count, and that's the only way the community is going to be able to tell, is through this telemetry right now. So that's going to be really important.
Okay.
Okay, and then sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned that we have to not rely on Subscan right now, so that would require implementing some kind of indexer on our side.
Yeah,
there is no easy way to fetch this information from the node RPC.
Yeah, so we can probably, I think we can rely on Subscan to at least have the data that we can fetch from their API. They're just not gonna be able to render it on their UI. However, I know we've got the rate limit, so we might have to implement some ugly workaround of caching that on our own system, so that the requests from telemetry go to that server versus to Subscan's API, kind of like a third, like a gateway, so that there's not, we don't exceed the rate limit of Subscan's API. So that's one option. Another option would be to somehow hook in, run one of our own nodes. It doesn't need to be an indexer. It just needs to be like a, like a full node that we can query the state from, and then we can parse this information locally. I guess that would probably get expensive, but I don't want to get into a design discussion right now. There's options for this. One thing which we're probably going to be looking into soon is going to be using Subsquid as a potential for a Block Explorer framework. So this might tie back into that as well. We might be able to use Subsquid as a way to index this data, and maybe a very early version of that could be used just for this purpose, even if it's not a full block explorer.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Serge. Any other questions, comments for Serge? All right, Özgen, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Natasha. This week, sorry for the introduction for myself. My name is Özgün. I live in Turkey, and I was responsible from the GPU plotting back then, and then I switched to desktop, and now I will probably switch to Subspace CLI. So my update for this week is related to CLI application. Created a basic CLI application that has now only 2 commands in it and farm defined, and we are displaying some simple output texts for these commands, and set up the GitHub repository and all the settings related to repository, like rules for the main branch, dependable, etc., workflows. And I added some ASCII art, like it displays a really nice Subspace network. And init command is now generating a config file, and for which we get some inputs from the user. And I'm also adding some input validation to them. And these answers of the inputs of the users are written back to the config as specified in the Notion. There's only one thing left for the input validation, which is the chain spec. I opened an issue about that in the GitHub, so waiting for an answer. Also, the first pull request is merged. I only added Arthur as the reviewer. If you want me to add anybody else, please let me know. Other than that, yeah, that's all.
Wonderful, Özgen. Yeah, and if you could give a demo of that tomorrow at the App Sync, that would be great to see what it looks like right now, what the user experience looks like. And just for awareness, everybody, we're working on this new Subspace SDK in CLI. The first version's in Rust. Özgen's working on the CLI as it's almost like building a front end application without having a server, like just building a mock of it. So that's what he's working on. Yvonne has been working on the SDK, the Rust SDK, or like the wrapper API around the node and the farmer. He actually submitted a first version of that yesterday. I provided some feedback to him. I'm expecting another iteration of that, I guess, once he's better. But the first version is going to be fully Rust, and then we're going to take the Rust SDK, hopefully be able to export it to TypeScript, to have a TypeScript SDK, and then write another CLI in TypeScript that we could use it via npm. Okay. Any questions or comments for Özgen? All right, Natasha.
Hello everyone. My name is Natasha, and I'm new in the front-end team. I'll be helping with front-end stuff here at Subspace, and really happy to be part of the team. This week, I'll be focusing on the onboarding process. I already have set up most of my accesses, and I will be working through the onboarding that Arthur set up for me.
Wonderful. Really happy to have you on the team, Natasha. All right. I think next is research. Daria, I'll let you go first. You've been doing a lot more work than I have on this front.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, Natasha. I'm Daria. I am now with the research team. And my work is mostly reading a lot of papers and writing down what we've learned and how it's applicable to us, and also writing down in a more formalized way a lot of Jeremiah's thoughts on protocol. So for last week, I have been mostly working on the version 2 of the consensus protocol that we're going to be implementing. Well, Nazar already started. It was mostly trying to sort out the commitment scheme and the erasure coding, how they relate to each other. So I've been reading a lot of papers, and I started work a little bit on the DSN v1 spec, and tomorrow we have a meeting with Shamil, so he can help me with that.
Great, thank you, Daria. Any questions? All right, Daria, just a quick update. I did do a little bit of research on the homomorphic aggregation of the commitments, and it appears that it is actually correct. I did find like 4 different papers, mainly about the ZK snark literature that shows that you can use polynomial commitments to do additive. They do follow this additive homomorphic property. It's just generally not used in the application that we've been looking at, but it totally is doable.
Yeah, but I do have some concerns about that as well, but I guess we'll discuss that on our meeting.
Okay.
Maybe you can
Okay.
send me some of those papers that you're talking about, so I'm up to contest what you had read.
I haven't read them yet, but I did like read the abstracts at least. But I'll share them with you. They're mainly like Justin Drake and Dan Benet and Ben Fish papers, like Halo, and Halo's one that uses it. If you've heard of that scheme, and the other is I forgot what it's called. Yeah, I'll share them with you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see, Justin, you're up next.
Yeah. Hi, Natasha. I'm Justin. I'm the community support manager here at Subspace. I generally am the one who will answer the community's questions and just generally try and keep them supported from the Subspace side of things. So if you have any questions with the community or anything along those lines, feel free to reach out. On my end, for the past week, largely it's just been preparation for the upcoming incentivized testnet. We onboarded a few community moderators last week, so we got them all prepared to help have us as an extra support layer in the global channels, and also been working with the ambassadors, trying to get them prepared for the incentivized testnet coming up as well. We've also been working on localization for our website, still making some progress on the most recent languages we added of Ukrainian, Turkish, and Vietnamese, but progress hasn't been quite moving as quickly as we hoped, so we're hoping to have that wrapped up by the end of this week so we can get that imported. And beyond that, moving into this week, my largest goal will obviously just be supporting the users as they move into incentivized testnet and making sure everyone can get online.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for all the hard work getting ready for this big event coming up here soon. Okay, any questions or comments from the group before we close out? All right, well, thank you everybody for watching. We will see you again next week, and we hope to see you at the kickoff tomorrow for incentivized testnet.